So I was just thinking, you're just like a lawnmower. Yeah, just to stick with me for right now. So the reason why I'm saying you're just like a lawnmower, think about it. When you first buy a lawnmower, like straight from the store, you bring it home, you have to assemble it in order for you to put the handles on there. You give it a little bit of oil. Maybe you're doing a gas powered lawnmower. Maybe it's an electric lawnmower, or maybe battery powered. No matter how you're getting your resources, you're putting yourself in, and then it cuts like butter. You get the nice, easy transitions. You're not worried about anything. But then, once the season is over, some of us clean ourselves up, store ourselves away, or some of us just kind of like, all right, let's just chuck it outside. Maybe you put it in the shed to take care of it, or maybe you just, like me, leave it outside with a covering on it. But especially on the East Coast, we get a lot of rust after a while. But then a season goes by. Fall, winter. Then before you know it, it's time for you to use the lawnmower again. And what happens? You finally decide, okay, it's time for me to cut the knee-high grass. You pull out the lawnmower, put a little gas in it if you need to, get the power source back in, maybe prime it a little bit, and then you try to pull the cord. Just gives you a little breath. Then you're like, all right, come on, let's go, let's get started. Then you try to pull the cord again. And it's not starting. You're doing the same thing. You're doing the exact same thing when it comes to taking any kind of tests. You haven't seen this stuff in years. So what do we have to do in order for this lawnmower? We don't just go out and buy another lawnmower. We check to see what's wrong. So we're kind of hopefully putting up on primes and looking underneath. You're like, oh, there's a lot of old grass in there. So let me get my, screwdriver or anything with a flat edge and scrape that off. So now when I pull the cord, I can feel the blades moving. So now the blades are moving, because when I really pull the cord, what's going to happen? Again, I'm priming it. I'm making sure everything else is cleaned out. I'm blowing off any kind of old excess stuff. And then all of a sudden, let her rip. And, there's smoke. There's all kinds of stuff. It's the same exact thing that you guys are going through. You have to get rid of so much other things in order for you to focus on your task. So just like a lawnmower, it's been seasons since you've seen algebra and since you've seen geometry in this state, because there are so many states, just like ice and water and all going through the whole transition of the evaporation and blah, blah, blah. Because I don't know that part, sorry. But you're going through stages. So you need to maintain, you need to maintenance yourself. You need to figure out the priming is all the PDFs that you're getting, all the videos, all the lives. But it's not really driving you to get to your goals so much quicker. So we're going to be a maintained lawnmower. We're going to educate ourselves. We're going to figure out and answer, get those questions of why answered. So for those that don't know me, my name is Audrey Codner. I'm the owner of Math by Audrey as well as ACG Math Tutoring. So I was a classroom teacher for 22 years and just finished 6 years of my tutoring sessions, and actually going to get ready to get back into tutoring, right? Because you thought the summer was going to be long. Today is what, the last day of June? Crazy, crazy. So what we're actually going to be doing is looking at some concepts that you're going to see, ASVAB, GED, Accuplacer, TEAS test, anything that has algebra in it, these are the things that you need to take care of. These are your foundation, which I mean adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, fractions, decimals, okay, I'm saying ratios, percents. You need to get that foundation done so you can do the algebra that is required to do well in those assessments. So what I do is I show you a couple of things, but I have resources that I personally developed to help you reach that achievement. Because just because you just finally cleared everything out, you have to put gasoline. You have to make sure the batteries are fully charged. You have to make sure you have a power source in order for you to get started. You can't just jump from season to season of not doing anything thinking you know everything, because you're going to continue to get the same results. So, that was kind of cool, lawnmower, because I really do have to tackle my knee-high grass that's outside after my tuning session today. So, so here we go. All right. So yesterday, I showed you a little bit of my cards. And let's kind of get started on one of the cards. And then I'm going to be jumping to 3 separate areas. Okay? So, we have a situation here. And in this situation, I'm going to need an equation. Okay? So, take a look at the situation. Read it amongst yourselves. And tell me, what would be my equation? Okay. So I have a situation here. What will be my equation? Okay. All right. So now we have these 2 situations. Is it A or is it B? Okay, read the situation. Is it A or is it B? Okay, so Maya's saying the second one, Jay's saying B, her saying B. Okay, Maya, I see you with B. Okay, you're so confused, Allie. Okay, read what the situation is, and let's see which one of these is going to represent this situation. Okay, user 742, thank you for shortening it. It's saying B, True. Hello, True, how are you? Saying B. Okay, Pretty is saying B. Okay, thanks for the follow, Breezy. Okay, is that Corona? Alright, you're saying my second one. Be careful with the second equal sign. It's probably a typo, so it's just like that. Alright, now, reason why most of you guys are picking this B. Take a look at the situation. So Ken receives a $50 gift card. Okay, so Ken has $50. Then it says every time he goes to see a movie, it costs him $10. So if it's costing somebody $10, that means every time he uses gift card, $10 is coming off of the gift card. So if he uses it one time, that's going to be $40 left on the gift card. If he uses it again, that'll be $30 from the gift card. So if it costs him $10, and if he's consistent with that, how many times can Ken use this gift card until it's done? How many times can Ken actually use this gift card? Put it in chat. Okay, her saying 5, Jay saying 5, user 5 times, Maya 5, Pretty 5, okay, Allie saying 10, okay, that's $10. Okay, Allie switching, got you. Okay, Ken saying 5, got you, Allie, good job. Way to catch yourself, I love that. Okay, Princess saying 5, all right. Patricia, how are you? All right, and Cam, I did see you 5 times. So they might ask you to put this situation in what's called the equation of the line. We know the equation of the line as y equals mx plus b. So you notice that a lot of you guys will say, I don't like word problems because one of the things is you probably don't know how to set it up, or what are you looking for. Or you're reading the word problem like a whole novel and you're trying to suck in every essence of every word in that paragraph. No, you're going to be completely confused. And especially if they give you an equation, they're telling you fill information into the equation and solve. That's their way of giving you a gimme question. All right? So this will be this. So now that's going from verbal to your equation. We started off with 50. 50, that's your y-intercept. Anytime you're about to especially graph, or if they say the initial amount, or they'll say your starting price was, or the starting cost was, that's your y-intercept. That's the one that doesn't have an x or y next to it. That's where you start. Okay? A lot of us get confused where to start. That's where you start. Now, what's happening every time, every minute, every hour, every month, every week? That's your slope. And since it was costing him $10, that means it's going to be negative. Okay? All right? That's why it's going to be negative, because it's going down every time he uses it. All right? Okay, so Allie, we're good. We're starting to see it a little bit, a little less confused. All right, okay? So anything, something that you start, if they say the initial cost, the initial value, every time they say initial or starting, or they may say this person was given this, that's when we're starting the situation. Good. All right, gotcha. All right, so that's where the 50 came from. But what was costing him $10? Every time he used it, he spent $10. We're assuming it's a consistent thing. Like he's not out buying popcorn, because we all know that price will be the damn card. That's why I got sneaking in. I'm just kidding. So you cost him. So since it's costing him, that's why it's negative. All right. Okay. Awesome. Now, let's look at it from a different perspective. Let's look at it from a graph. And if you want to get more of those, there is a link in my profile that'll take you to my stand store. You can purchase these exact cards, so you'll have all these situations. There's practice problems in there, and there's also an instructional system. Okay, just like the lawnmower issue that I said. You got to start fueling and maintaining yourself in order for you to take the test. Okay? With pre-calc, yes, especially if you're struggling with, not even struggling, you're going to need it as a refresher. Because if you've been out of school for more than 3 days, yeah, you need a refresher. All right? I know, only $10 at the cinema, right? Okay, so let's take a look. Let me clear this up. Now I want us to get an equation. So anytime they ask for an equation, they're not asking for it in standard form. They want it in slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. Okay. All right. So taking a look, thinking about what I said earlier about Ken, we had to have a starting point. We need to have a starting point. And the starting point, we like to call our B, our y-intercept. Okay, so this is what freaks a lot of you guys out with graphs. Because you see the graph and you're like, okay, I know I need to put this and translate it to this, but where do I start? You always start at the y-intercept, the B. What is my y-intercept for this graph? The graph is the blue line. What is my y-intercept for the graph? I don't want the whole thing, but just the y-intercept. But Mammy, it's not against you, which is awesome. And there's something that's missing, Mammy. What's missing? Okay, so vibe is saying 4. AL saying 4. Okay, 730 saying 4. My thumbs up got to be 4. Got you, positive 4. Good. Okay. All right. So Jamar, I don't even know what you're looking at. So Princess, you're saying 4. Mammy, good. B is 4. Daddy, K. I never thought I would ever say this to another person. Saying 4. Okay. Now, that's where you start. Your y-axis goes up and down. It's the number line that goes up and down. X-axis goes left to right. Okay? So it's crossing and intercepting my y-axis here at 4. So that's what my B is. My B is going to be 4. Now, I need 2 points. So my second point, I want to see where it's intersecting. It's intersecting this section right here. So if I'm looking at this point right here, because it was intersecting my grid lines in a nice simple way. Here it's not intersecting my grid lines. It's only intersecting one. But this one's intersecting this one, this one, this one. Yeah, it's perfect. So now I want to go from this point to this point in order for me to find my slope. Okay? So slope is the difference of your y's over the difference of your x's. So I also like to say the pattern. How do I get from my point to the next point? Think of it this way. This is my house. This is the place where the party's at. Okay? I need to get from my house to the party. Now, I can't go through people's homes. I don't know about you. I'm originally from Philly, but I'm living in Baltimore. Same difference. This is how you get killed. Okay? No. You do not walk through. So I'm just going to shortcut through your house. Like, you will never make it to the party. You just won't. So here we go. You're going to have to make yourself almost like an L. Either you're making your L this way, or you're making your L this way. You're going to get the same slope, right? So if I want to go from 4 to this point over here, I have to go down. And you're like, oh, you go down 1. No. Take a look what I'm counting by. See, that's another thing that they love to throw at you. I'm noticing that my y-axis, I'm counting by 2's. So this line is at 2, this line is at 4, whoops, this line is at 6. So my y-axis, I'm counting by 2's. But my x-axis, I'm counting by 1's. Okay, so always take a quick look. So if I'm going to go down, I'm actually going down 2. So from here to here, I went down 2. Now I need to go over, and I'm going over to the right. And I went over 1, 2, 3. Don't stop here and call that 1, and then that's 2, that's 3, that's 4. No. You stop for a second, then you go 1, 2, 3. So I went to the right 3. Now, here I go with your y's. Your y's, you're either going up or down. Your x's, you're going left or right. That's why they call it rise over run. You gotta rise out of bed to run to the bathroom. When you get older, you do that quite often. Get your prostate checked. So since I went down 2, I'm going to make that 2 negative. And since my run was a positive because it went to the right 3, I can make that a positive 3. Okay? Now, would I be wrong if I had the whole graph? Would I be wrong if I said positive 2 over negative 3? Would I be wrong if I said that? Digital exam? No. Okay. No. Okay. Miss Black Sense, thank you. Okay. Wit saying yes. Okay. 7:30 saying yes. 7 Calming saying yes. Courtney, hey Courtney, saying yes. Okay. Here's the thing. These two are going to take you to the same graph. They're going to take you to the same slope. So if I may, let me see if I can sketch. Okay. That's positive 5, positive 5, negative 5, negative 5. Okay? So, we had a point at 4. You trying to quit on me? Trying to quit on me, Red? And then we had another point at 3, 2. 1, 2, 3, up 2. Now, we went down to 1, 2 over 3, 1, 2, 3. If I wanted to, which I have to extend up, if I want to, I could go up to 1, 2, and over to the left 3. 1, 2, 3. That point is on the same line. I know, the lines are all kind of wonky. Okay? You can get the same effect if I was able to draw it straight. You can get the same effect. So when it comes to negative slopes, okay, good morning, sunshine. When it comes to negative slopes, the numerator or the denominator can carry the negative. If you have a positive 2, that means you went up 2. And then if you have a negative 3, that means you went to the left 3. That point is still going to be part of that line. Okay? If you make both the numerator and the denominator negative, okay, that's when you're going to have a positive slope. But for a negative slope, the negative could be carried by the numerator or the denominator. Okay, do we see that now? These are the little things I like to tweak. Okay, these are the little things that we like to tweak on this. Alright? So don't be like, oh, I was wrong and I don't want to. This is how we learn. Because probably someone maybe broke it down a while ago and now you're trying to bring up old memories of learning and it gets clouded. Because if you don't use it every day, yeah, it gets clouded. Okay? So, hopefully we see that if we have a negative 2 over 3, that's the same as having a positive 2 over a negative 3. Okay? So now we have our y-intercept, which was a 4. We figured out what our slope is, which is a negative 2/3, or 2 over negative 3, whichever you prefer. Now we just need to write our equation. So our equation is going to be y equals our slope, which is negative 2/3 x, and then our y-intercept, which is a positive 4. Okay, you're learning every day. Good. All right. So these are the little things as you're saying to yourself, oh, hey, Jay, thanks so much for the roses and everything. So as you're progressing, as you're trying to prepare for these exams, you have to give yourself some kind of instruction. Okay? We can't just rely on Bob. Bob is the back of the book. That's where generally most of our answers are. Okay? So when you look at an answer key, what we're doing is we're memorizing the answer key. We're not learning it. So then when you come, you're like, man, I've been studying. I spend a lot of time with the back of the book and trying to understand like why they're doing this. And then when it's time for you to take the test, you freeze. Because you didn't learn the concepts, you memorized it. Like, oh, I remember Miss Audrey did this. Oh, how do I do it? And you're spending so much time to try to remember instead of, hey, I learned it with the instruction. Now let me apply it. That's a major difference. Okay? That's a major difference. And that's what's holding you back from passing. I'm not saying it as a threat, it's just reality. Okay? Yes, exactly. Give yourself some grace. Because like I said, I'm not sure if you got in back. We're just like the lawnmower that's been stored away for a whole season. And now you're thinking, okay, I could just pull it out and then just pull the cord and it'll start up right away. No. You got to give it a little bit of tenderizing. You got to look and see like, all right, okay, it's got this, it's got oil. Okay, you got to check the levels. Okay, is there any old grass in the bottom of it? All right. And when you do get it started, let it run. Because you're going to see a whole lot of smoke. You're burning off a lot of old oil that's just been sitting there, a lot of old gasoline that's been sitting there. In order for that freshness to get out so it can start running again, you got to fuel it. Okay, you got to maintain it. So give, and just like Miss Blackson said, you got to give yourself some grace. Okay, you have to. All right. Exactly, AL. Thank you. Okay? Better to understand. I'm going to pin that. There we go. Lots of good education props. Okay? Is there imaginary numbers and real numbers? Where will they go? Sorry, something just popped up. Where will they go on the graph? Well, imaginary numbers, you won't be able to, it won't cross the x-axis. And usually you're seeing imaginary numbers in what's called quadratics. Okay, so when you have your x value at the second. Okay, so real numbers are numbers that you can actually count. Okay, so that's right here. Those are your real numbers. Okay, so your real numbers consist of your counting numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 all the way to positive infinity. Your whole numbers, which is the 0, because you're adding an O, the whole numbers, with the 0 plus your counting numbers. Your integers, which are negatives, your 0 and your positive numbers. And your rational numbers are your numbers between the 0 and 1s and so forth, which is your decimals, your fractions, but not all decimals. It has to have a distinguished end. Okay, so like 0.625 thousandths. That will be a rational number. 3/4 is a rational number. Okay, 7/5 is a rational number. All right. Okay, so all of these, practicing graphing, all of this can be found. Let me see if I can get the graphing ones. In a series of my books called Algebra at Your Pace. So Algebra at Your Pace, you have your linear equations, volume 4. This is when you're going to see your graphing. How do you use the intercepts? How do you go from y equals? How do you find your slope? Okay, how do you go from standard form to slope-intercept form? And I'm giving you not only the breadth, not only the information, But what I did was I have a series of videos of me breaking down these concepts. Okay? So that's why we give you notes. You're going to take down notes from those concepts, those practice, and then you're going to apply what you learned from that section. So you're getting the application right away. Okay? You're giving the application right away. So this is all in my Stan Store. In the Stan Store, you find the link in my profile. Now, for the next part, as soon as I can find it, this is what happens when I move stuff. It literally was right here 5 seconds ago. It was going to be another word problem. Oh, here it is. So today is going to be a short session, but productive. All right. So here's one of the questions that came fresh out one of my ASVAB exam practice books. So a worker can assemble 3 gadgets every 20 minutes. How many gadgets can they assemble in 8-hour shift? Okay. Now, I know you're looking at the answers and you're probably trying to figure things out. What time do I normally go live in the morning? Somewhere like usually between 8 and 8:30. Okay. Today I kind of got stuck with some stuff. Okay. So, when you see a problem like this, tell me how you feel. Just by seeing a problem like this, because we need to get to the emotional part in order for you to understand. Because guys, you are working yourself through a lot of trauma. Okay? A lot of trauma. You're so welcome. Okay? Alright, confused? Hey JB, welcome back. Andy, well, how many gadgets can you fit in an hour? Okay, you're thinking about that. Alright. Okay. Alright. How are you feeling? Figure out the amount of each hour first. Okay. But do we have to figure out the hour? Couldn't we figure out the minutes? Do you feel like I don't know where to start? Is it almost like to a situation you're like, how do I set this up? I'm seeing a lot of people giving me answers. I'm seeing some A's, I'm seeing some C's, I'm seeing some numbers. I'm seeing people are like, oh, just multiply this and this. But where did the 9 come from? Where did the 8 come from? You know, you're saying 9 per hour. How did you get the 9? Where did that come from? And then I'm thinking it as a person that hasn't been in school for a while. That's how I'm thinking out of it. I'm thinking like, where do I start? And I'm seeing like all these answers, and you're thinking, all right, I don't know how these people are getting these answers. I'm just going to wait for this chick to solve it. But when it's time for you to take the test, you're actually going to see a question like this. That's going to actually require you to do a little bit of conversion. So let's take a look, because I'm not getting the same answer from everyone. So let me kind of raise this up a bit and give myself some room. So we're looking at it, they can assemble 3 gadgets every 20 minutes. So every time I'm seeing something being compared to minutes, I immediately think that I have a ratio. And my ratio is going to be the gadgets per time. Notice with the time I didn't write minutes, because one thing we did notice, which is good, that first we were talking about minutes, and then we want to know how many can be done in an 8-hour shift. So we have to convert minutes to hours, or we can convert hours to minutes. All right? So let's think about it. One major thing. How many minutes are equivalent to 1 hour? Put that into the chat. There's a reason why I'm asking this question. It's not because I'm dragging things out, because there's times people just don't know. Okay? Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Donna. Thank you, Jerry. Sexy Man. Zach. JB. Okay? Larry. Thank you. 60 minutes is equivalent to 1 hour. So we can take it as two different ratios, because one ratio is dealing with our 3 gadgets for 20 minutes, and we're saying the equivalent, that's why there's an equal. We want to know how many gadgets, so since we don't know the gadget, I'm going to put an X. That's my unknown. It could be any number. It's going to be equivalent to 8 hours. Ladies and gentlemen, what you're working with is called a proportion. When you have two equivalent ratios, aka fractions, and you're trying to find what's going to be equivalent. So I can't just do something with the 20 minutes and the 8 hours. The reason why, they're not the same degrees of measure. Okay? One's dealing with minutes, which is a part of an hour. So you can take this one of two ways. A lot of you guys are saying change the minute to hours. All right. So we need to figure out how many minutes is 20 minutes equivalent to an hour. Okay? So if we're looking at 20 minutes, I'm going to put this over here. We're looking at 20 minutes is part of the whole thing, which is 60 minutes. Okay? So 0 and 0. Since they both end with zeros, instead of looking at it as 20 and 60, why not look at it as 2 and 6? And 2 over 6, aka 2 divided by 6, that can be reduced as well. Because what do I have to give me a 2? Well, 2 times 1 gives me 2. And through multiplication, what would give me a 6? Well, 2 times 3 would give me 6. What do I notice? Well, I notice that 2 divided by 2 can cancel out to give me 1/3. Okay? This is one way of simplifying your fraction. Notice there's things within things. Alright? You're not going to multiply 3 on both sides. You're going to screw up that way. Okay? You always multiply whatever the denominator is. So since we have this 1/3, it's going to look like this. 3 over 1/3 of an hour is equal to x over 8 hours. Okay? So now, here we go. This is what a lot of people are screwing up on, because I'm starting to see a lot more A's and I'm starting to see a lot more 72s. So at least we're all in agreement that B and D is not an option. But when you try, you have a fraction equal to a fraction. You can do one of two ways. You could take your 3 and divide by 1/3, which looks crazy. Or we can simplify this by saying, let me just use the backhand side of this. We can simplify this by saying 3 times the reciprocal. So the reciprocal is 3 over 1. Okay? So some people like to combine this. Now, here's another thing. If you are going to take the ASVAB and the Accuplacer, you cannot use a calculator. So this is why I'm doing a lot of this manually, because I'm practicing the way that I'm going to be tested. Okay, just want to put that little plug in there. So this is where people are getting the 9 from, because 3 divided by 1 is simply 3. Anything divided by 1 is itself. And then 3 times 3 will give us 9. Okay, so this is one way that we can do it. So when we did this dividing by a fraction, that means we multiply by its reciprocal to give me my 9. So we could say 9 is equal, this is one way of doing it, x over 8. Then from here, we want to get x by itself. Okay, so we're not looking at this part anymore. We're focusing on this part. So when we do this, we multiply both sides by the denominator, not the numerator. So 8 divided by 8 will give me 1, but I don't really need the 1 because the x is represented, because it's 1x. And then 8 times 9, that gives me 72. Like I said, that's one way of doing it. So 72 what? 72 what? What's x represented? Okay. So 72 what? 72 gadgets. Okay. Okay, thank you. So we got 72 gadgets. Okay, 72 gadgets. So with us doing that, that's one way of looking at it. Okay. Another way of looking at solving it, if you don't know that you can combine over here, you're going to do what's called cross multiply. So cross multiplication, that only happens when you have an equal sign. You're saying that these two ratios are equivalent. So this is when you're going to cross multiply. Some people call it the butterfly effect. So you have 1/3 times x, that gives me 1/3 x. Then you have 3 times 8, which gives me my 24. Now, anytime you have your 1/3, that's division. What's the inverse of division? Multiplication. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 3. So 3 divided by 3 will give me 1. So 24 times 3 gives me 72. So that is dealing with the hours. That's converting your original to hours. But what happens if you don't like fractions? Which I know a lot of you guys don't. Okay, so this is going from minutes to hours. What happens if I wanted to do it the other way around? So we have our ratio. We said 3 over 20 minutes We didn't know how many gadgets for 8 hours. What happens if I want to go from hours to minutes? So we know that there's 60 minutes in an hour. How many minutes would that be? Yep. I do tutoring, so let me know. Okay. How many hours? How many minutes is equivalent to an hour? There we go, Jerry. Thank you. Okay. All right. Air, thank you, with the 240. So basically, we can go 3 over 20 minutes with our unknown with 60 times 8. That's how we know how many minutes. So we have 480. Now, if you want, we could, again, cross multiply if you wanted to do that. So you have 20 times x. And now we're doing 480 times 3. So if you got your 480 times 3, that gives me my 0. 8 times 3 is 24, so I have my 4 carried to 2. 4 and 3 is 12, plus 2 will give me 14. So that will be 1,440. Yep. I like to show 2 different ways. So now I need to divide both sides by 20, because 20 divided by 20 will give me 1. So 1x and x is the same thing. You don't have to divide everything by 1. Okay, 1x and x is exactly the same thing. Now, since both of them are ending with zeros, cancel them out. So now you're not looking at it as 1,440. Make it simple for yourself. If they both end with zeros, that means they're both divisible by 10. So now we have 144 divided by 2. 14 divided by 2, that gives us 7. 4 divided by 2, that gives us 2. So we just found it's going to be 72 gadgets. Okay. Alright. I know a lot of you guys said that from the very beginning. But again, I'm really trying to make math simple, especially for people that are literally traumatized because of how math was presented to you when you were younger. I want to say I was probably my first client because I was traumatized as a kid. I didn't understand algebra. No one broke it down to me. They just said, here's this, memorize this, and how much of a memory you have, that's how well you do on the test. And then for those that have really good memory, they get celebrated. For those that don't have a really good memory, you get chastised. And I'm tired of it. Okay? You are basically, a lot of you guys, if you're taking the GED, you've already taken the English, you've taken history, you've taken science, and you waited to the last minute to do on math, and that was 3 years ago. If I'm calling you out, I'm calling you out. Because you don't want to fail. But guess what? You're not going to. You just have to learn it. And doing a 12-week course is not enough time. Okay? You again. Alright? That's what I'm saying. No problem, AJ. That's why I come on here. So not only did we get through our one-word problem, which is very similar to what you will see in any assessment that has to deal with algebra. That means the high school equivalency test, the GED test, the ASVAB test. And you're going to have to learn to not only be accurate, but you're going to have to learn to accept that there is a time frame. You can't spend 10 to 15 minutes on this time frame. You're going to have to pick a way. Are you going to solve it for the hours? That means you're going to convert your hours into minutes. Or are you going to convert minutes into hours? As you can see, the result is exactly the same. You have to make a decision. Okay? How to do tips. Right. But see, everybody's always looking for quick tips. And here's my thing. Anything that's quick does not last long. Right? So if you got a quick tip and all of a sudden you try to apply that tip, you're like, oh shoot, how did the tip go? Learn it. It's almost like a kid that will sit here, knew that they got into the sugar, right? You see the container open, or better yet, frosting. You see the container open. There's frosting all over their face. They will come up with every excuse in the book to say that they did not do it. Well, it was raining, and then I went upstairs, and then dude, it's all over your face, yo. It's all over your hands. It's on your shirt. It's on your pants. The evidence is right there before you. But they will, that's what I'm saying. Kids know how to lie right out of the womb. They will do anything to protect themselves. You're doing the same thing. You're trying to protect yourself, but my thing is, you're the one that's in the way of your learning. You're in the way of you achieving what you wanted to achieve years ago. And it's not too late. Okay? So, this is what I'm going to end up with for today. So we've talked about graphing. We talked a couple of things about finding the equation of the line. Now, if you are looking for a place to get more problems like this, if you want more practice, I have that. Okay? I created it. I put it as ASVAB for math practice, and it'll give you tons. It gives you 3 quizzes. So you can practice, sit and practice taking a quiz. Okay? So all of this is in the link to this. Okay? If you want more instructional, you're like, I need to learn from the very beginning. It's been a minute since I've done it. You can get my algebra at your pace. Again, it's just a Scantron. You got me, go ahead, and I'm watching the video. You're taking down notes. After you take down notes, there's practice sections. You're writing down the practice. You're putting all your notes down. And then, if you want extra practice of what was taught, you got that right here. Okay? All of that is in my stand store. Okay? Everything that you basically need is inside that. And I also give you some of the rules and regulations in the very back of it so you can use it. Okay? How to understand those word problems. How to translate it from words to an algebraic expression. Certain words have certain operations. Okay? All of that's linked in here. So I have certain systems. If you want to get started, there is a starter system, and it is in my profile. Okay? So again, if you just go to my profile.
This comes with a vanilla powder. I know, right?
Everybody's on. Okay? So if you click on the link in my profile, you get to my profile, it's right here. Stand store. Okay? So again, follow me here. Okay? Follow me here. I do have replays. If you go into the stand store, okay, you'll be able to take a look at some of the free skills testing I have there, and all of these books are my e-books. Okay, so that means you don't have to wait for a book to come through the mail. You get it immediately in your email. Okay, after you do it, probably wait like 1 to 2 minutes, then boom, you're gonna get an email from me. Okay, and then you can get started. All right. Okay. So this is what's happening. Hey, Math Stephanie, how are you? So if anything, if you have questions, Ask questions before you purchase, please. Okay? The reason why I say that is I want to make sure that you're getting the right stuff, which you are. But some of you guys want to go straight to tutoring. It might not even be tutoring that you need. So if you want, you can try the free sample, just work on their skill set, or if you want to order some more of the resources, like the little cards that I showed you that had all your graphs and that had a scenario, what we have with Ken, okay? I have all of them. Nice thick stack, okay? So you're going to get your graphs. You're going to get your task cards. If you want to do any kind of elaboration, you are going to get scenarios as well as your graphs that is associated with it. Can't see? Like this, okay? So you are going to get your equations, okay? All of that. So it's like 24 scenarios, 24 equations, 24 graphs, and 30 task cards, okay? All of that, check out the Stan Store. Just give it a look. Okay, so if you need anything, go ahead and message me. If anything, have an awesome day, and guess what? You're no longer a lawnmower that has been sitting around. We need to fuel it. We need to give it not just the energy, but we have to make sure that all the parts are working. We're in the right mindset. We're no longer saying, I can't do this. Now you're saying, I got this. All right, everyone? And you